Great. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Marcia Questel. I am a BCBA. I have been working with neurodiverse people, ranging in age between those in early intervention, around 2, up until through adulthood, up to about 24. And so I've been doing that for about 22 years. And I really enjoy it. I love it. I'm always learning so much from the families that I work with and from the research that I do. Currently, I am also a research fellow here at the Yale Child Study Center with Dr. Roger Joe. I also work as the content editor and externship co-coordinator for the Association for Science in Autism Treatment, ASAT, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But if you want to read anything more about what I do or what I'm interested in or the research that I've been working on, you can check out my website, marciaquestel.com. Today, we are going to be discussing how to structure days at home for success and fun. Fun is something that I like to bring to everything that I do. I think it's really important to emphasize fun. I think we need to be brave about making fun a priority as part of quality of life, rather than sort of a side note or some bonus that we get after doing things that aren't fun. So I try to embed fun in everything that I do as much as possible. So yeah, I'm very passionate about it. And so this is part of this 10-part series for parents of neurodiverse kids. And so if you're with us now or if you're watching the recording, feel free to contact me. You can find my information online. You can reach me via my email at mq89@yale.edu. If you want any of the previous slides or access to the recordings, but we are trying to put these on Dr. Joe's YouTube channel as well. So hopefully you can find it there later. Okay, so let's see. All right, so my position here at the Yale Child Study Center is partially sponsored by Spark. Spark is the largest autism research program ever conducted. It really is an incredible program for people with autism. There's no age limit, there are no exclusions. Anyone with autism can participate, and their family members as well. So, every person with autism is different, and therefore every person's story and participation is important. So if you're thinking about joining Spark or you want to learn more about it, feel free to contact our team. Our email and phone number is there. Okay, and also Casey Sparks is a program that we are super, super excited about. This is our cultural autism studies at Yale. We are so thrilled to be partnering with an autistic anthropologist, Dr. Dawn Prince Hughes, and really doing an incredible work called an ethnography to really research and establish the autistic culture. So we have really amazing, very rich discussions in our Casey program, and you are always welcome to join us. We have a lot of our information there at Meetup, and so you can use that link. And also, you can always look us up or contact Dr. Joe or myself to learn more about Casey Sparks. And then ASAT, I mentioned this before, this is the Association for Science in Autism Treatment. This has been around for over 25 years, and ASAT is committed to sharing real, evidence-based, good information about autism and its treatment. It includes information for parents, for individuals with autism, autistic individuals, doctors, professionals, speech pathologists, you name it, college professors. There's something for everybody at ASAT, and they have a monthly newsletter for which I'm the content editor. And we're really proud of the newsletters that we put out month after month with international contribution. So we have a team of externs that are from around the world. We have authors from around the world, and we really do try to not only share really good information about autism, but also really combat misinformation about it as well. So for today's objectives, we're going to describe the issues related to days at home for neurodiverse families. We're going to outline some rights and values that people have in their homes, cultural and societal issues. And we'll also talk about key factors that lead to success and fun. We will illustrate steps for examining and increasing success and how to avoid burnout, and demonstrate how to have fun. Save the date, upcoming talks about play. I do have a talk in July called Play as a Human Right. I also have another one in August, Helping Siblings Play Together. And you can see the full list of my upcoming talks on the last slide. If you would need a copy of the slides, or if you need any more information about these talks, please feel free to reach out to me anytime at mq89@yale.edu. Okay, so it's time for our first poll. So I'm going to pull that up. Just give me one moment. Okay. You should receive a poll right now that is about the difficulty level that you experience in days at home. So how difficult do you find days at home to be, or days off to be, in terms of time management, completing tasks, having fun, transitions to and from activities, enjoyment of the day off for yourself and your child or children? And there is a rating scale for you there. And I can share these results with you. So as we see, families are typically rating this as pretty difficult. Okay, so we do find that a lot of times it is very difficult to have the day at home has less structure than usual, has maybe more ups and downs than usual. And so this is why days at home can be a really big challenge for families. What makes days at home so difficult? Demanding tasks, right? You might have all just plain and simple, a lot to do. You may have to work from home. Some people completely work from home, and some people just partially have to work from home. There's things to do that are left over from a day at work, or things that their boss expects them to get done by a certain point that they couldn't fit into their day. Tons of teachers and therapists obviously do tons of work from home. Illnesses. So if you're having a day at home because you are ill or a family member is ill, that makes it super difficult. Trying to structure the day for yourself and for others, knowing that you have competing priorities or competing desires and trying to create structure there can be hard. Wanting to have joy despite these challenges, just that kind of expectation of trying to have fun versus the reality of how much fun that you can actually have. Behavioral and emotional dysregulation. So when you yourself are dysregulated, or the people around you or your children are dysregulated, that can make it really hard. And unplanned needs or issues. So you might have, say, your tasks planned out, and the expectations lined up, and that everybody's communicating and regulated, and then something unplanned happens, right? Somebody just gets sick all of a sudden, or somebody asks you for something that you didn't know you needed to do. Financial constraints can make it very difficult. Maybe you can't afford a babysitter to help you, or you can't afford to go do that thing that you wish that you could do. Those financial constraints can make it very hard. Time management in general can make it very challenging. So just having the time and trying to manage all of those different things can just make it really, really hard. Just checking out the chat really quickly. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So all of these things can make it very hard. So with all those things that make it difficult, what do we need to consider before planning and structuring days at home for success and fun? Again, if you missed the very beginning of my introduction, I do emphasize fun as much as I can throughout my work, not just as something, again, to be tacked on at the end of doing hard things, but trying to embed fun in things that we are doing. So we do need to consider rights and values, and these are considerations. So what you're going to see throughout the talk is that a lot of these are framed as questions because not everyone answers them the same way. Cultural and societal issues, same thing. People come from different societies, even different neighborhoods have different expectations and different cultures. And then key factors that lead to success and fun. So this is how we're going to break it down in this talk, and let's get right into it. Let's discuss issues related to rights and values for children. We're going to tease each of these points apart. So for rights, what rights do your children have in your home? What are the limits to those rights? How do we teach those rights and those limits or exceptions? And do your rights sometimes conflict with your children's rights? Of course they do sometimes. Related to work-life balance, what are the values related to that? Some people hold different values related to work-life balance. Sometimes people are the like work hard, play hard people. Sometimes people just want to be a lot more calm. So your values might differ on work-life balance. Values related to how we use our time. Some folks really want to use their time in one particular way, and some folks value using their time in another way. Also, should statements from parents to children. So the values that you hold in how you tell your children what they should be doing or what you expect that they should be doing. What is negotiable and what is not? And how do you stay true to your values while your child may not um, hold those values or maintain those boundaries? So thinking about rights, what rights do your children have in your home? So basic rights we're going to talk about first. You can visit the Child Welfare League of America. They're going to tell you things about how children's rights are human rights that are essential to living as human beings. Children's rights are absolute and fundamental to advancing the human rights of all human beings. So each child has a right to be raised in a nurturing, loving family with basic needs like food, primary health care, and formal education. Human Rights Watch also has some really good information about how states have differences in terms of children's rights regarding child labor, corporal punishment, child marriage, and juvenile justice. And these are more serious topics than what we're going to get into today, but they do kind of show you and showcase the differences between states in terms of what children's rights are. And UNICEF is the international kind of guidelines on the rights of a child. And these are a very important set of international standards agreed on by all parties of the UN except the United States. So you can read more about that in the link if you follow that. And again, if you're watching the recording of this and you want to get these links, please feel free to email me and I will send you the slides, or you can look this up for yourself. The UN does have some pretty clear guidelines on what children's rights are, and the United States, I think, agrees to most of them, but also does not want to impose certain structures on families within the United States. So pretty interesting, right? And then we're going to talk a little bit more about what rights your children have in your home. So food access. Every home is different about this, okay? I have been in tons of homes throughout the United States, and every home is different in terms of availability of food. So just plain and simple, what they can afford, the diversity of that food, the nutritional content of that food, and the child's right to snack in between meals. Some homes have really clear, structured rules about snacks. Some homes really want their child to be able to eat whenever they want, whatever they want, and everything in between. So that is a right to your child to have food access and to be provided with food, but we do have to remember that there are differences in that in across all homes. So do your children remain safe when they're alone? Do they remain safe when they're with others? Are they able to leave the home with or without telling you? So if you have older children or even adult children in your home, what rights do they have in your home, and how does that conflict or cooperate with the rights that you have? What are they allowed to do? Plain and simple, when and where. What do you feel that your children have a right to do? And can they just do it anytime or wherever? So a lot of that is a cultural difference, but those are some rights and values that we do have to think about. So, rights, what are the limits to those rights? When you think about those rights, think about issues related to safety, health, respect, and cultural considerations. So, whether you're a parent or you're working with families, we do have to use a cultural lens when we're thinking about these things. We have to think about, um, you know, what does this family hold as important in terms of their children's rights and also the rights of the other family members? How do we teach those rights and those limits or exceptions? So some families use a lot of reinforcement or rewarding tactics. Those terms are very different. Rewards are just things that you give. Reinforcement are things that try to increase the behavior and actually show an increase in behavior. So that's a little bit of a technical difference, but it is important to tease those apart because reinforcement is not reward. And so a lot of people say, like, oh, I was reinforcing my child for cleaning up their bedroom, but if the child doesn't actually increase their bedroom cleaning, then you were just rewarding. You're not actually increasing that behavior. Do you use punishments or threats? Like, if you keep doing that, I'm going to blank. Or if you keep doing that, you're going to lose blank. Those threats are used in many homes. Sometimes they are followed through, sometimes they are not. Are there clear punishments or unclear punishments? Are they spontaneous? Are they structured? What house rules do you have in place and what do you not put in place because it's too vague? What reminders do you use? How do you teach those things with reminders? And do you consider what your child does do versus what they can do versus what they need to learn? So if your child does do something, that means they do it completely on their own and they do it normally. Like they don't need to be told, they do it. Versus what they can do, they're capable of doing it, but they don't do it and they need teaching to do it, not how to do it. And then there's the need to learn. Does your child need to learn to do something? So they can't do it just yet, but they just need to learn how to do it. And do your rights sometimes conflict with your children's rights? What about parents' rights to health and safety and peace? So, if you want your child to feel safe and peaceful and healthy in your home, are you always the one who has to sacrifice your rights and needs for you to be safe and healthy and comfortable and at peace in your home? Do you spend more time attending to your child's rights and needs than your own? All of these things come into play when we're thinking about days at home and how to make them successful and hopefully fun. So, values related to work life balance. Do you need time to work from home? Do you have childcare or family support? How independent is your child at spending time on their own? If you need to work from home and you do or do not have any support in your home, you're going to need to see if your child can do some things on their own so that you can get work done. Um, are the things that they're doing cooperative in your house, as in contributing to the home, or is it just things that they can do on their own so that they are occupied and safe? Can they help with self-care for themselves, like getting themselves dressed and toileting? Leisure, so, like, you could see in the one picture, the girl is scribbling on a paper while the parent is on their laptop. Can they do something leisurely on their own while you're doing something parallel? Care tasks, like in the other picture where the children are helping with the dishes. Can they help with any of the care tasks in the home? And then academic tasks. Do you need to be right next to your child, or can they do some of their academic tasks by themselves? Then we need to think about values related to how we use our time. Do you need more time alone, or do you need more time together? If you spend all of your time together all the time, you might feel like we need some space. We need more time alone. If you're constantly in separate rooms doing things alone, you might think we need more time together. Do you need less screen time? I'd say the majority of homes that I'm in, that is the case. But that is a value, right? So it's not for any clinician to impose on you. Um, there are values to social media and to video game play and to leisurely TV watching and things like that. But there are some impacts that are well researched that impact families and individuals in detriment, right? So in detriment to their social skills, in detriment to their cognitive skills and their emotion regulation. So you may need to think about that. Is that a value that you hold? And maybe you have bigger fish to fry, so to speak. Like maybe right now, less screen time is not a priority. And that's okay if it's not a value for you right now, because you might think like, no, I don't want to work on that yet because I need to work on safety first, right? Or emotion regulation in another way. Do you want to increase your outdoor time with your family? Of course, there's well-researched benefits to increase outdoor time, but maybe that's not a value that you hold right now. And again, that is something for you to decide for your own home. And this is sort of this whole kind of preparation phase of preparing for successful days at home is examining these rights and these values and thinking about it for yourself, not for what others impose on you or what your clinicians think or your teachers think, but really thinking about the rights that you have and the values that you hold. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So should statements from parents to children, like you should clean up this mess, you should be exercising more. Do you dictate what they should be doing? How far does that extend? Is that all the time or some of the time? How much control over choices can your child have? So think about that, and how can you include their preferences in your should statements? What's negotiable and what's not? What's considered respectful or disrespectful in your home? Does everyone agree? Do they have their own non-negotiable feelings? What boundaries do you have to maintain regardless of others' preferences? And how do you provide teaching or consequences to maintain those boundaries? How do you stay true to your values while your child may not and maintain boundaries? How compromising can you be? Can you offer compromises that work for everyone? And how do you communicate those proactively? Again, this is not for me or anyone else to tell you. These are just some questions to ask yourself as you prepare for successful days at home, because days at home come with a lack of structure that just doesn't exist when everyone is in school and at work and all of that. So when you're home, really asking yourself these things proactively can help you prepare for the things that we're going to talk about next and kind of setting up for success. But if you think about, how compromising can I be? What is non-negotiable to me versus what is negotiable, that'll help you set up nicely. Culture and society impact the decisions we make for our children in several ways. Culture and society impacts the expectations that we have of them. Okay, so you're not creating your expectations of your children in a vacuum. You're creating expectations of your children based on how you were raised, how the other children in your area are being raised and what they can do. It can be from a cultural standpoint or a religious standpoint. The expectations that you have for your children really are impacted and shaped by the culture and society in which you reside. Also, the expectations that you have of yourself as a parent. So the ways in which we teach those things are also impacted by culture and society. So, some cultures and societies use more lecture style or storytelling styles of teaching things. Some cultures and societies use more rigorous, really didactic training to like make sure that children are learning certain things at certain times more strictly. And how do we handle when children don't meet those expectations? How do we feel about it? How we feel about it is also shaped by our culture and our society. The impact that meeting or not meeting those expectations has different impacts on our family in whatever particular culture or religion or society we exist in. Also, culture and society impacts the opportunities we have. So if you live in an area that really values um, safe outdoor access, then you're going to have lots of like green parks around you, and that's where a lot of children will be going, and it'll impact the opportunity you have to get your kid outside. Whereas if you live in a more dangerous area with less safe green space, then the opportunity you have to promote outdoor play is going to be way less. And so again, the culture and society in which you reside really impacts the opportunities that you have. Also, the cost of attempting to meet expectations or take opportunities is impacted by your culture and your society, and this exists broadly and within homes. So there might be a broader structure that you live in that has, sort of a great outdoor availability and lots of opportunity for you to do things. and that might be free, but your family and your family line really focuses more on work and cleaning the house and getting homework done perfectly and things like that. So that's broad and within homes and within individuals in those homes. All right, so let's think about key factors that lead to success at home. We're going to review those questions when we're preparing for days at home. Okay, we're going to review those kind of ideas about rights and values and culture and society when we think about structuring our own days at home, because now this is where you have more control over what you're doing, and you want to make sure that you're leaning into these things and being thoughtful about them before you make these concrete goals. So that's all sort of like the first step of brainstorming and things that you really want to make sure you're being true to yourself as a parent, true to your children. And if you have neurodiverse family members, which a lot of people here do, you want to be true to their culture as well, because neurodiverse people do have culture. And so we do want to be respectful of that. So when you're thinking about goals, try to go from just like a goal to a really clear objective, a concrete goal. Instead of saying like, oh, I wish my kid did more chores, let's think about something really crisp that we can set as an objective, like loading the dishwasher 3 times per week. If I could get them to do that, that would be so nice, right? Like they would just help me out so much if they learned how to do that. If we say we just want them to spend more time outside, or we as a family want to spend more time outside, well, that's just like a really big, lavish goal. What if we set that to like a very concrete objective? Spend more than 30 minutes outside. That could be per day, per week, whatever. You just want to make sure you set a concrete objective. If we say we want them to practice math every day, okay, I mean, that's good, but how? When? How much? Complete one math sheet per day is a much more concrete goal that can be completed. These will help to prevent overwhelm. Okay, if you set very concrete goals, it'll help you and your child and your partner or babysitter or whoever else is helping you to stick to the protocol, stick to the objective, and keep everyone from getting carried away. So like if you're having a great math lesson with somebody, you might say like, "Oh my gosh, they're enjoying the math lesson. Let's keep going." But if you keep going and then you get excited and get into another subject, you're also risking getting carried away. So that the person might become overwhelmed. Either the teacher or the student might become overwhelmed by saying, I think I took this too far. So it's okay to kind of follow a kid's lead. I actually encourage that a lot in my work, but you do want to be a bit structured so that you can prevent some of that overwhelm or getting carried away. And this also just helps to set expectations for everyone. Start small. And then I wrote even smaller than that. Okay, so if you say, I'm all right, I'm going to start small. I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk every day. Okay, that sounds pretty small. Like that might even just take you around the block one time, right? Or down the block and back might just be 10 minutes. If you're not walking at all, like if your baseline is 0 walks per week and you say, I'm going to walk 10 minutes every day, that might be too much because you haven't built it into your routine. So you might want to start even smaller than that. Just say, I'm going to step outside every day and literally just get into the habit of getting shoes on everyone's feet. That sometimes is like a whole accomplishment by itself, right? Getting shoes on everyone's feet and literally stepping outside and just being happy with that. And whatever happens, happens. If we go for a walk, if we don't go for a walk, if we just walk around in the yard for 5 minutes and everyone's complaining and we just want to go back in. But if you say we accomplished the goal, your framing of that is way different. We did it. We all got our shoes on and we stepped outside. We accomplished the goal is way better than saying my goal was a 10-minute walk every day and I only did that once this week. So if you can't find the time to commit to the 10-minute walk, you're not even going to get everyone's shoes on, right? So whatever you're thinking about as your goal, I would say think even smaller than that, right? Just really make it something that you can try to do infinitesimally if it's not something in your skill set yet. So be prepared to whatever it is and have grace. So if you can't accomplish that goal, even as small as it is that you set it, have grace for yourself, and have grace for the family, and have grace for your children. that it's okay. It really is okay that you didn't do it today, because it really is. You're setting the goals and you're trying, and that trying is enough. So have grace for that. Okay, so you have a few small objectives that are concrete, and you've considered the rights, values, and norms surrounding those objectives. Now let's plan ahead. Now you see this little kid in this picture. I love this picture so much because this child was probably told to get changed, I'm imagining, and they're looking at a crayon in a pile of clothes. So I just love it. So plan ahead. When can these things be accomplished? Instead of saying we're going to take a 10-minute walk every day, think about a timeline. When can you actually do that? With whom? Who's with you? Who's supporting you? Who's coming with you? Who prepares any of the materials, encourages the activity, and reviews the success or the failure of that activity? So you might be the person doing all those things, or maybe you're preparing it for someone else to do. Maybe you're preparing it for your partner to do, or for a babysitter to do, or for a nanny to do, or a teacher to do. And you just want to say, yeah, I'm going to be the person that kind of prepares for it. I'm also going to be the person who reviews whether it happened or not, but I'm not the person encouraging the actual activity itself. So who's going to be responsible for what part of this? And what else is going on at the same time? So think about if you're going to have a 10-minute walk every day and you want to plan it for 9 a.m., which would be probably challenging in my house. But let's say I want to do a walk at 9 a.m. sharp every day. What else is going on at the same time? Well, it varies because in my house, people have different schedules with different types of demands. So maybe I should rethink that, because what else is going on at the house at the same time? There might be somebody in a tutoring lesson, or there might be somebody going off to a spontaneous job demand. So we do have to think about what else might be going on at the same time. What other demands are there for everyone involved? Not just you or your child, but think about what everyone might have to do at that time. And what do you do when this isn't possible or when something else gets in the way? So if you have a plan for outside time and you say like, okay, I want to do a 10-minute walk, and I'm only sticking with the 10-minute walk because it's just an easy example, but this could be for anything that you're planning. What do you do when it isn't possible? So are you going to go if it's raining? Maybe, maybe not. Are you going to go if it's snowing? Are you going to go if the car broke down and you can't get to the park? So what are you going to do if it's not possible? What can you do as a plan B to that plan? And then when you start planning for these days at home, be sure to consider when things will happen, but avoid overscheduling. Okay, so if you're thinking about, okay, I'm going to have a few concrete objectives like the 10-minute walk, one math sheet a day. We're going to go to, I'm sorry, really quickly, my battery is just getting low. Give me 1 second. Okay, I think it's crisis averted. So if you're planning for when you're going to do things, you have to avoid overscheduling, okay? So this is really important because it leads to stress for everyone. And I know you love your planner, and I know your child may love to know what happens next, but it may lead to burnout for the prep phase. So if you're like, instead of thinking of it as time frames or, sort of concrete goals that can happen at some point in the day or things like that, if you're over scheduling it, you might burn yourself up in the prep phase and never actually get to the execution. You may get really disappointed when things go awry, or your child may get disappointed when things go awry. And it also may increase rigidity. So if everybody's so obsessed with things happening at certain times, you yourself or your child, it may just increase that need for things to be super, super structured. So just be very careful about overscheduling. And be sure to provide lots of choices. Choices increase engagement and adherence to schedules. They also can exist in the activities, in the order of things, in the way the activity is done, in the expectations surrounding the activities, and where else. We're going to talk about more on choices later, but you can see that you can provide choices in areas. Okay. All right, so the fun part. How can you make any part of this fun? Note that it doesn't all have to be fun all the time. Why should it be, right? I mean, I do love to include fun as much as I can wherever I can, But social media, our families, we ourselves might have these high expectations that everything should be fun, but the reality only belongs to you. You are responsible for approximating, okay? If you can only give 60%, and that's the most that you can give is 60%, well, you're giving 100% of that. That is what you can give, and you're giving your all that day. Just make your best approximation as close as you can every day. That's okay. And remember, quality time is more important than quantity time. Okay, making sure that your time together is as quality as it can be, as peaceful as it can be, is more important than like high amounts of time or just like sticking to schedules. So I like pairing. So I put music notes because I love music. So I just put music notes for the bullet points just to make it more fun for me. Fun is just as important as the work that you're doing. Fun increases success. Fun increases attention to tasks. Fun increases the likelihood of attempting again after failure. It increases flexibility and a growth mindset rather than rigidity and a fixed mindset. And it helps you to think of things like, I'm learning how to blank. Like if you're learning how to sew and you make some squiggly, terrible lines on your sewing pattern, if it's fun for you, you're like, "I'm learning how to sew," right? Not, "I can't sew." And remember the power of yet. So, I don't know how to tie my shoes yet. I'm not great at getting my kids outside yet. I haven't taken the garbage out yet. So, thinking of things like that is better than like, "I don't know how to tie my shoes. I'm not great at getting my kids outside. I haven't taken the garbage out." Like, if you just put "yet" at the end of things and you start teaching your kids to think of things that way and trying to just make stuff more fun, you're gonna see a whole change in their attitude about what you're trying to do. So just wrapping up, briefly take some time to consider your family members' rights, including your rights and your personal values, your culture and your ideals, and that of your child, like I said. This is the crust of the pie that holds it all together. So I have a pie analogy that we're starting to develop here. Set small, concrete goals. This is the main ingredient. You can't have success without setting goals. If you change the goals, the whole day changes for better or for worse. Making routines helps everyone. Be flexible about those goals. Patience and grace are the two essential ingredients in this recipe. They surround the goals and make them taste better. Without flexibility in your goal setting and patience in implementing those goals, you're just being demanding. And fun. Use jokes, breaks, structured and unstructured downtime. Is it a break or to do whatever the child wants, or is it screen time or a Play-Doh break? Build in exercise and movement when you can. Dancing and silly challenges are great options. Simple games or beat your best by one challenges. So like how many stacks can you make with these blocks? 8? Okay, tomorrow we'll try for 9. Remember, not everything that you wish or hope will be fun. If you hope for it to be fun, it may not be fun for your family. Don't get defeated. Keep trying. If it's just fun, which would be the ice cream, it's just sweet. And that's okay. But that's not going to help everybody get through every day. If it's just values, that's just the crust. Like if you think of somebody who's super righteous and value driven, like they're just crusty, right? It's not fun, it's not exciting. If it's just goals, it's just an apple. Apples are good for you, but they're gonna get boring after a while. If it's just flexibility, it's got no substance. So if you're just constantly being flexible and constantly wishy-washy, you've got nothing in there. You've just got no substance. Without goals, it's just mush. So without the apple, it's just cinnamon, sugary mush. Without flexibility, it's just apples. It's just flavorless. There's nothing to it. There's nothing good about it. It's just regular, right? Just demands, as I said before. Without values, which is the crust, it just falls apart. That would be terrible if there was no crust on this pie. Everything would just fall to pieces. And without fun, it isn't exciting, okay? Pie is good. Pie with ice cream is exciting. So, steps for examining and increasing success. The more work you do on the front end, the better your chances of success will be. Create a schedule that has lots of choice and lots of flexibility as much as you can. And there are many ways to give choices. Remember, this is the previous slide. You can give choices in the activities, in the order of things, the way things are done, the expectations. Like, where can you give choice? And here's some ways that you can give choice. So, force choice, A or B. Do you want to do this or that? These are the only choices, forced choice. Rank order. So tell me what you prefer. Put these in order. What do you like the best? Pineapples, apples, or oranges? You tell me what you like the best, and we'll try to see if we can meet those preferences. You can do a menu with limited options. You can say, okay, well, we're going to go outside. Do you want to go on your scooter? Do you want to go for a walk? Or do you want to ride your bike? You can give a menu that has options that can only be used once. So if you're giving an array of activities that somebody can do, you can say, okay, I'm going to give you a menu of activities. You can move them over, but once they're used, they're used. Okay, so like if you want to do screen time and then a puzzle and then something else, and they can choose what order they put them in, but can only be used once. That's a good, exciting idea for a lot of kids. Options that can be used anytime. So maybe that just looks like an array on a piece of paper, and they can just use them anytime they want. So it's like maybe 30 minutes a piece. And the only demand is that they switch to something new, and then they can go back again to something, but they can really use any of these any amount of times. You can ask them open-ended things by category. Okay, what do you want to do on screens? What do you want to do outside? That's just an open-ended question, but within sort of a category range. And then just completely open-ended. What do you want to do? What do you feel like doing? Let's brainstorm together. What are some things that you like to do? What do you want to do right now? And then for increasing success, create ways of taking data that can be easy and routine. Okay, you can think of things like check boxes. You can just look at what they've moved over each day to see what they've done. You can use a fill in the blank page, like if you type something up and you can just fill in a blank of like, here's what we did that day. You can score things, like if you're trying to teach your child to tie their shoes, you can create for yourself. You don't need a behavior analyst for this to say, if they did it independently, required some help, required lots of help, or just didn't do it or refused to do it. The reason why we have to keep data is because it keeps us honest. Okay, it really helps you to see and reflect across more than, 1 or 2 days, because after that, you can't reflect. After a day or two, it's like, what happened yesterday? I don't even know what happened yesterday. So data keeps us honest. And also, it's super encouraging on hard days. If you see, like, we're having a hard day today, maybe we're not getting much done today, but we've had some other days where we've had some success. So when you have those low points, right, which you can see are in those red boxes on this graph, you don't have to make a graph like this, but when you know for yourself, like this is a low point, but you know that you're making a trend that's increasing, and maybe you do plot it if you have some skills and data, then you could say like, oh, look, it is going better than I thought. And it's better to have easy, lacking detailed data than no data at all. So whatever it is that you choose to do, maybe you just want to use a journal, whatever it is that you like to do, whatever's easiest for you, there's no judgment on that at all. Whatever works for you is better than nothing at all. And you can improve your data process once you become accustomed to it. So again, just like we talked about, just getting the shoes on and getting outside, just that small, tiny, minuscule, and it's not minuscule for a lot of us, but like just that one step of collecting some kind of data is better than not collecting any at all. And once you get used to it, you can then increase it or improve it as you like. And how to avoid burnout, and we're going to be wrapping up soon, but be patient with yourself first and foremost as the parent. You have to be safe. You have to be ready. You have to be flexible for yourself. You have to be forgiving for yourself. You have to listen to your own feelings and validate them. This is hard. That is valid. It's not just hard for me. It's not just hard because I'm not good at it. It just is hard, and that's totally valid. Take it one day at a time. Not every day is supposed to be brilliant. That doesn't happen. Waste no time on guilt. It holds you back. Keep moving forward. Guilt amounts to nothing but weight. Constructive feedback teaches you something. Okay, you can't climb a mountain except one step at a time. Allow yourself and your children to make mistakes using the growth mindset. Learn what works and what doesn't by experience. Okay, you're not going to know unless you try. And so you share that experience vulnerably with your family and you say, we tried, it didn't work. That's what we learned. Take pleasure in the littlest wins. Okay, really the littlest wins. Today, this season, this year doesn't represent what you're capable of. And I put a little quote mark there because I've been saying this a lot for a few years now. Hope is prerequisite to progress. That is what I tell all my families, but only progress is measurable. So you can be, super hopeful and not have any data to show anything that you're doing to make progress. So you do need to show progress in a measurable way, and that actually increases the hope that you have. So it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you stay hopeful and you make tiny bits of progress, then you can come back on it and lean on that to be hopeful. And where you focus really matters. If I was only looking over here at these little down points, really only thinking about when things are going wrong, I would miss the bigger picture that things are actually getting better. Get comfortable being uncomfortable if you want to have fun. Okay. Read the room. Don't pull away from fun activities to go to unlearned, not yet fun activities without pairing and planning. Pair it with something like the pie with the ice cream, with laughter, with known fun, with new opportunities, with risk. Be bold. This kid that I've been working with for many years loves his stuffed animals. So whenever I want to teach him something new, I pair it with a stuffed animal. So in this one picture, he's playing this game, the headbands game, and it's also teaching perspective taking. And, he really enjoyed that. Here he's doing a doctor visit. We were thinking about the doctor and learning about the doctor, and he was being the doctor for a big stuffy. And then in another one, we were having a band jam. And so each stuffy got to have an instrument of their own. And so I just paired it with something that he really enjoys, which is stuffies. And we made things that were new for him fun by pairing it with something that he has known fun with. This is a slide that I'll let you all look at on your own. We only have a couple minutes left, but I would encourage you to look up the daily dose of happiness chemicals, because these are great ways to increase the actual brain chemicals that make things more fun and more pleasurable. So go ahead and check those out. And the acronym is DOSE: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. All right, it's time for our second poll, and then we're going to be just about done. So I'm going to share this with you. My kid that I had the other pictures of is also here in this poll. He also loves rainbows. And so you can see in this picture, we did everything rainbow. So what ways of fun do you want to have with your kids? Or do you think you already do, or you might have fun with your kids doing? So I'll give you another 30 seconds to think about it. You can just select any ways in which you like to have fun with your kids, or that you might like to learn to have fun with your kids. All right, some ways that folks here like to have fun is to play outside, go shopping, play board games or card games, reading, playing or listening to music, silliness, rough and tumble, walking, hiking. Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that we can build in fun in our daily activities, in our daily lives. So make sure that you structure some of your days at home for fun. Autistic joy. This is one of my favorite quotes. It's on my wall in my office. Autistic joy is the greatest act of resistance in a world that was not made for us. That's by Matt Lowry of the Autistic Culture podcast. I'd like to say thanks to Dr. Roger Joe, who is my mentor here at the Yale Child Study Center. Thanks to the Yale School of Medicine, Spark at Yale, our Spark team, the neurodiverse community, and also Casey Sparks, which is our autism culture group. Thank you so much. So it's time for questions. I am going to stop recording really quickly. Here's a list of my upcoming talks as well.